In a recent video, I said that I think Yamato, much like Odin, will amass a group of followers. In that video, I compared Ashura Doji to Who's Who because there are a lot of parallels between the two. I think this is going to carry out through the rest of Yamato's cover story because much like Odin, when he went on his pilgrimage, he too amassed a group of people who eventually became his Scabbards. I think with Yamato, a similar thing is going to happen here in which she amasses mostly former beast pirates to be her Scabbards. With that being said, these characters will then serve the purpose to be released to Momonosuke in order to help him and any remaining Scabbards to protect Wano in Yamato's absence, while she, much like Odin before her, goes on a independent journey to join Straw Hat Luffy and his crew. With that being said, in this video, I'm going to compare how similar some of the people that I think are going to join Yamato are to the former 9 Scabbards that served under Odin. With that being said, we're going to start off with Yamato and Who's Who. While I think Yamato is a direct parallel for Odin and Who's Who is a direct parallel for Ashura Doji, there are 2 other characters whom I think they make perfect fits for in terms of talking about parallels. Inu Arashi and Nekomamushi. The reason for this is because Inu Arashi and Nekomamushi were a dog and cat mink. Thanks to the dough fruits of Who's Who and Yamato, they too are a cat and a dog. So in that way, I think they parallel with those characters as well as Ashura Doji and Odin very nicely. Next, let's cover the 2 other beast pirates that have come up in this cover story recently, Ulti and Page 1. Kiku and Izo compare very nicely to Ulti and Page 1, as both sets of these characters are siblings, and in both sets of characters, one is coded to be masculine and the other is coded to be feminine, much like with Ulti and Page 1. Additionally, I think there is a very interesting comparison when you put Kinemon and Denjiro in the mix, because like Kinemon and Denjiro, both Ulti and Page 1 have the power of transformation. Denjiro, in a very odd way, due to stress and frustration over the loss of Odin, transformed his face into a completely different person. Then we have Kinemon with the power of the Garb fruit, which allows him to make clothing. So he actually has the power to disguise himself via the use of his Dough Fruit ability. With that being said, Ulti and Page 1, of course, have the ability to transform because they are both Zoans of Dragon fruit model Devil Fruits, which allow them to become dinosaurs. So, much like Kinemon and Denjiro, they have a transformation aspect to their abilities. Now, what's also quite interesting is that you could say, kind of like Izo and Kiku, both of them have differences in moveset, as we've seen Ulti wield a Morning Star, but Page 1 seems to only rely on his Dough Fruit for combat. He doesn't have any other weapons. So that in itself too is very interesting, as the siblings in this way do have a distinct differentiation in moveset, much like how the Toby Robo siblings have a differentiation in moveset. But moving on. So next up, we have a very interesting comparison, and I'm not sure if she would join the Yamato or not, but she probably has to go somewhere. So we have Black Maria and Kurozumi Kanjuro. Both of them have a relationship with the word black, as Kurozumi literally translates to black coal, and Black Maria literally has the word black in her name or nickname or what have you. So both of them have a relationship to the word black, and on top of that, Black Maria wears a black kimono. This then kind of slides into their abilities, because in using the powers of the brush fruit, Kanjuro has the ability to manifest black ink of which he can then draw with, and then said drawings are brought to life based on his drawing skill. Black Maria has the ability to somewhat turn into a black spider via the use of her ancient spider fruit. So, with that being said, both of them have abilities that have a relationship with the concept of black. Then, both of them have weird pyrokinetic abilities, as one of Conjuro's last stands, when he makes the Kazanbo, which seems to be the spirit of Conjuro himself, made out of a ink entity that is constantly ablaze. So I don't know what's up with that, but that is a pyrokinetic ability that is available to Conjuro through the powers of the brush fruit. This then takes us to Black Maria, whose spider half can breathe fire and set the webs that Black Maria generates ablaze. So in that way, both of them have pyrokinetic abilities. Secondly, both of them have some sort of weird relationship with causing illusions, as Black Maria under some means has the ability to create a illusion mist that make people think that enemies are their loved ones. This then too is an ability of the brush fruit, as Conjuro can make anything, and he has made Kazuki Oden in the past, which he used to trick his fellow Scabbards. So in a way, that too was an illusion, as this Kazuki Oden was simply a drawing. So in that way, that's how the two compare. With that being said, both of them too have some relationship with entertainment, as Conjuro's sect of the Kurozumi clan was related to being performers. They were stage performers, which is why Conjuro was so good at portraying his fellow Scabbards and ultimately ratting them out in the end. We have seen Black Maria is also associated with entertainment, as she is skilled at playing the shamisen and is a flirtatious courtesan around Kaido. So in that way, both of them too are related to entertainment in one way or another. Moving on, things are going to get a little dicey, but I would say we have Sasaki and Raizo being very comparable to one another, even though I wouldn't say they have too many outstanding traits of their own. Both of them have this very interesting position in their respective organizations, as Raizo was the best ninja in the Kazuki Oniwanbanshu. Then two, we have Sasaki of the Flying Six, who headed up his own armored division made up of armored smile users. So within the Beast Pirates, he had his own little sect of guys that he would control, who all had a particular specialty. So in that way, he and Raizo compare to each other very nicely. Now, I think the sort of point of contention that may come up is that why didn't I compare Kawamatsu, the fishman of the 9 Scabbards, with fellow fishman Sasaki? Well, the reason for that is because Sasaki, unlike Kawamatsu, doesn't have any interesting story beats that relate to his race. Kawamatsu, however, was told to present himself as a kappa to the people of Wano on behalf of his mother, because of the discrimination fishmen face all across the world. A character that I would compare to Kawamatsu, who technically isn't a part of the Flying Six, but is a part of the upper echelon of the Beast Pirates, would actually be Jack of the All-Stars, because Jack found out that there was a Wano submerged under Wano, and he did that because at the time he did not have a devil fruit, and he is a giant grouper fishman. So in that way, I would say his race is important to his story because of his ability to swim, and him being a fishman, he was able to discover something that Kaido did not know anything about. With that being said too, both of them have a relationship to poison, because it was Jack who led the charge on Zoe, who then released Caesar Clown's poison gas weapon to weaken the denizens of Zoe. Kawamatsu was in a similar situation. However, instead of poisoning others, he himself was poisoned. But due to him being a Japanese puffer fishman, it is very likely that he was absorbing the poison fish bacteria that he was being fed for over 13 years to build up a toxin within his body known as a tetrodotoxin, which is what pufferfish are known for building up after eating certain foods and storing the bacteria from those foods. So in that way, both Jack and Kawamatsu have a relationship to poison. One poisons others while the other was fed poison, but due to his physiology was totally unharmed by the poison he was being fed. So with that being said, those are all the comparisons I could find between Yamato's possible Scabbards and the Scabbards of the past. So if you can find any comparisons, leave them down in the comments below. But with that being said as well, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What?